Hi, I'm Eric Siegel with ericstrains.com. Today we're going to take a look at the newest rendition of the 3-rail O-scale H24-66 TrainMaster diesel from Lionel. The H24-66 TrainMaster was a 2400 horsepower diesel locomotive that was manufactured by Fairbanks Morse as well as their Canadian counterpart, the Canadian Locomotive Company, between 1953 and 1957. As many of you know, Fairbanks Morse never really found a great deal of success in the diesel locomotive market. They made a lot of cool engines, but most of them just never caught on in a big way. And one of the main reasons for the lack of success was the fact that many of their locomotives, including the H24-66, used opposed piston engines, which were difficult for the railroads to maintain. Fairbanks Morse had found great success making opposed piston engines for the Navy and submarines, so after the war they decided to put that engine design to work in diesel locomotives, and like I said, they just never really caught on. Another complaint that some railroads had about the H24-66 was that it actually had too much horsepower, as strange as that seems. So in that respect, the TrainMaster was a little bit ahead of its time, because certainly engines with larger amounts of horsepower would follow in years to come. So because of the lack of great success, there were only 127 TrainMasters ever made, and the only one that is still around today is the former Canadian Pacific 8905, which is currently on display in the Canadian Railway Museum in Quebec. Now let's talk about Lionel's latest rendition of the H24-66. These engines were offered in Lionel's 2014 Volume 1 catalog, and then these models started showing up in stores right at the end of 2014. There are 5 road names available. There's the Southern that you see here. There's also a Southern Pacific, a Reading, a Canadian Pacific, and a Central of New Jersey. Now, one thing that I would like to point out about the Southern version that you're seeing here is that it is not 100% true to the prototype. Most notably, it is missing the bell that was right here on the real 6300, and instead it's got a second light up here. So if you're a stickler for realism, you may want to try a different road name. As for me, it really doesn't bother me that much. Hey, this is Lionel. They're not exactly known for having the most prototypically accurate models in the world. I'm not losing any sleep over it. It's a lot of fun to run this model, and that's all I care about. But I know a lot of you guys do care about stuff like that, and so if that's the case, I would recommend going with either the Central of New Jersey version or the Southern Pacific version, as those two seem to be closer to the real thing. But no matter which one you buy, they're all the same on the inside and the features are all the same, so everything that you see in this video applies to all of the other road names that Lionel made. Okay, so let's go over some quick stats and facts on this model, and then after that we'll go in and take a look at all of the details. The length of the model is 16.5 inches. The weight is 5 pounds 3 ounces. This engine has 1 pound 12 ounces of pulling power, and the minimum curve needed to run this engine is 0.31. Under the hood, the engine is powered by 2 flywheel motors. It's also got a fan-driven smoke unit on the inside, and then you've got the electronics for legacy rail sounds as well as the legacy control system. As usual, there are 3 ways to run this engine. The preferred method is to use Lionel's legacy command system, as that will give you access to all of the engine's advanced features. You can also run the engine with Lionel's classic TMCC command system, or you can run the engine conventionally. The front and rear of this model look great. We've got this really cool safety striping going on up here as well as on the pilot. Down here we've got the now illegal pilot steps. The steps over here on the side look great. We've also got some nice separately applied hose action going on. There's a coupler cut bar above that, and then we've got a separately applied grab iron up here. And then of course in the middle we've got the electrocoupler that can be thrown from the legacy or TMCC remote. Here's a look at one of the front truck side frames. It's very well done. There's some really nice fine wire details all around. And then of course we've got this nice little chain right here. Here's a look at the fuel tank area. We've got some legible signage right here, some hand-painted detailing here, and then some really nicely detailed parts on either side of the tank. And here's a look at one of the rear truck side frames. Again, very nicely done. And also above that, we've got some legible builder's plates. The rear pilot is pretty much identical to the front pilot, and once again, there's an electrocoupler right here that can be fired from the Legacy or TMCC remote. Moving up on the front of the engine, we've got a little metal safety chain right here, and then below that is a drop plate that folds up like that when not in use. And then we've got these really nice looking handrails and stanchions. They really did a good job with these all over the engine. Right here we've got an operating headlight. There's another headlight above that. We've got operating marker lights on either side as well as lighted number boards. As we turn the corner, we see the beautiful Southern logo here, and it's surrounded by some nice cast-in detailing, and then there's some separately applied detailing right here. The walkways on this engine do not have safety tread. I'm not sure if that is prototypical or not. It is rather difficult to find pictures of the real 6300, let alone pictures of the walkway, so I don't know. On the cab, we've got a nice crisp 6300, and then beneath that is the name of the railway that actually ran these things under the Southern, and that is the Cincinnati, New Orleans, and Texas Pacific Railway. On the inside of the cab, there are two hand-painted crew figures. The inside of the cab is also lighted, and that light does turn off when the engine starts moving. On the back side of the cab, you can see one of the many separately applied windshield wipers on this back window. We've got some nice cast-in detailing around here, and then a see-through metal vent up here. In the middle, we've got the nice big Southern logo, and you can see the yellow stripe that's running down the entire length of the engine. All of the details around here are molded into the body. These vents are very well done because they're deeply recessed, and so even though they're molded in, they look great. Toward the back here, I want to show you something that is really cool and unique. Now up here you can see the start of these rooftop fans with these nice metal screens, but that's not what I'm talking about. We'll get a better view of these from the top down in just a moment. What I want to talk about is right here, these vents. They can actually be moved and opened up like that. They're like little blinds. How cool is that? And this was a complete surprise to me when I took the engine out of the box, because this feature was not listed in the product description in the catalog, and I've never seen anything like this on an O-scale model before. It is really cool and, like I said, very unique. On the back side of the engine, we've got another metal safety chain right here, another drop plate below that. There's an operating backup light here, and then we've got two operating marker lights and two lighted number boards. Now let's check out the top of the engine. Up front, we've got a couple of nice metal screens here, and then we've got a very nice looking separately applied metal horn. And then back here we've got this fan with a very nice metal screen and a very detailed fan underneath. The section around this fan can be removed to reveal the controls for the engine, but I gotta tell you, it's not very easy to remove this piece. It's not like on most diesels where it's held down with magnets. So I found the best way to do it is to approach it like a Band-Aid and just grab it and go for it all at once like this. And there it is. And so inside we've got the master volume control, the Odyssey speed control switch, the smoke unit on-off switch, and the run program switch. And then to replace this section, it's sort of the same thing. You just sort of have to brute force it back in place like that. Toward the back, we've got the smokestack right here, and of course there is a fan-driven smoke unit down inside, and as always, to load smoke fluid into the smoke unit, you simply pour the smoke fluid directly down the stack. And then of course on the back here we've got this great looking fan enclosure. The metal screening looks great, and then the fans inside are very detailed and they also spin. Here's a look at the underside of the engine. As you can see, there are 4 pickup rollers, 2 per truck. Of the 3 axles on each truck, the inner 2 axles are driven and the outer axle is free rolling, as you can see. On the inner axle there are 2 traction tires for a total of 4. The speaker for the sound system is right here, and then right next to the speaker is the infrared sensor for the Lionel LCS sensor track. Okay, the last thing we're going to do before we start this thing up is BFIMO, best feature in my opinion. Well, for this model, I'm going to pick the feature that I've never seen on any other O-scale model before. It's probably not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, but like I said, I've never seen it before, and so for me, the best feature is these movable vents. I just think those are so cool. All right, now comes the fun part. Let's go ahead and start her up.
This is the dispatcher. Do you copy?
Copy that. Read you fine. Over.
Okay, start her up. Stand by for track orders.
Roger that. Holding for your signal. Out.
Okay, first up, let's check out the horn. And now let's check out the bell. These engines come equipped with 8 different RPM levels, so let's go ahead and check those out. On the roof, so let's go back down. One of my favorite audio features about these legacy diesels is the labored sound effects. And on the legacy remote, you activate that by going to the speed menu and then going up or down on the EFX button over here, and that will increase or decrease the size of this little graphic over here. So if we increase it, I don't know if you can hear it on the video, but it gives the engine a much more throaty, bassy sound. It's really cool. Last but not least, let's check out some of the Crew Talk sounds on this engine. And to demonstrate the Crew Talk sounds, in addition to using the legacy remote, I'm going to also be using the Lionel iCab app on my iPhone, because I find it's a little easier to demonstrate some of the Crew Talk sounds using the app rather than the legacy remote. Now, if you're curious about the iCab app, I will try to do a video on that at some point in the future. But for now, let's check out the Crew Talk sounds.
Dispatcher here, please hold. Over.
Understood, dispatcher. Out.
Dispatcher here, you're cleared outbound. Over.
Very good. I got the green. Out. That was a good run, dispatcher. We're stopped. Over.
Copy that. You're on your mark. Out.
Dispatcher, we still all clear? Over.
That's affirmative. You have a clear track. Over.
right, we've got a train behind the engine, so let's go ahead and roll it out. Okay, that about wraps it up for this review. As I said, this may not be the most prototypically accurate model in the world, but it is a very nicely done model nonetheless, and therefore I think it's worth picking up. If you're interested in purchasing one of these, the retail price is right at $550, although if you go through a good Lionel dealer, you should be able to get a decent discount off that retail price. And as always, if you're looking for a good Lionel dealer, try my favorite train store, which is Legacy Station. You can find them on the web at www.legacystation.com, or give them a call at 770-339-7780. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm Eric Siegel, and I'll see you next time. To discuss this model or any other O-Gauge trains and to meet other O-Gauge modelers, check out the O-Gauge Railroading Magazine online forum at ogrforum.ogaugerr.com. The section around this fan can be removed to reveal the controls for the engine, but I gotta tell you, it's not very easy to remove this piece. It's not like on most diesels where they have a piece that's held down with magnets. So I found the best way to approach this is like a Band-Aid, and it's just easiest to grab it and just go for it all at once, like this. Oop. Even that didn't work, you see?